Assalamu alaikum. How are you today? The last video I made, I spoke about apartheid, and I don't feel comfortable speaking about apartheid. We were very fearful back then. There was a lot of fear. I mean, be honest. People around us got arrested, people around us disappeared, and I still, it's gone, but I still don't feel comfortable talking about it. I actually want to speak about us Muslim people and what it's like living here as a Muslim and what it's been like for me and for my parents and their parents and so on, and what life was like in the past. As Muslim people, we are actually fortunate in that we have always, for the almost 400 years that we've been living here, we have had to fend for ourselves. And Islam and Muslim people were severely oppressed for religious reasons up until about 1.5 centuries ago. A lot of people don't know that. Suppressed in the sense that um, they had to make salah in secret and they had to make zikr late at night and not too loud also. That's how oppressed they were. Um, to come back to apartheid, because it made me think about it, in the apartheid years, the Afrikaners, being Christian people, they made it difficult for Muslims. But what we as Muslim people don't realize today is that we were always forced to fend for ourselves. We had to find our own land and we had to buy it to build a masjid. We had to apply ourselves. And to get a property zoned um, for commercial use or for religious purposes, everyone else found it easy, but we found it, or my great grandfather and their parents found it extremely difficult because they would meet with resistance because the authorities at the time knew that people wanted to build a mosque and they were anti-Muslim, to put it bluntly. But we had to build our own primary schools, we had to build our own butchers, supermarkets, everything. We had to build our own houses. And fortunately, all those skills are to be found, the business skills mainly amongst the Indian Muslims, and the building and clothing skills amongst the Malay Muslims. And that kind of thing makes people very, very resilient. And the strange thing that you find today is that most people, even white people today, are finding it extremely difficult. There's a kind of reverse apartheid going on, where people have to fend for themselves. The government doesn't look after anybody. I mean, they give unemployment and they give disability and so on, but it's worthless. I mean, you can't really do anything. You can't even buy food with the money. So people have to fend for themselves. And us Muslims having a culture of making sadaqah and looking after the poor, we are today looking after colored people by the thousands. I mean, I should make a video one day about the people living on the streets. They're living on the pavements, they're living under bridges, they're living in the parks, in plastic tents, all over by the thousands, in all the areas, in the former white areas, in areas today where there are mostly white people living, in these luxury holiday areas where people come on holiday from overseas. There are people sleeping on the street. There are people sleeping on the pavements. That's how bad things have become. And okay, you don't find Muslim people living there because they know they can go to the masjid and get assistance, and those numbers are increasing. On a Friday after Jummah, you find people standing in lines. And I mean, well, most of us know that begging is not allowed in Islam, but it's just this thing about women who stand outside the masjid holding out their hands for donations because they're destitute. And how do you say no? I mean, there are lots of feeding schemes that Muslim people run, top business people, they run feeding schemes, and people go and help to pack in and hand stuff out. And a lot of people standing in the queues are not Muslim, but they know that they can come to Muslim people, stand in the queue, and they'll get food. How do you tell somebody, no, you can't get food? You're not Muslim. That doesn't happen. People don't think like that, and people don't do things like that. There's something here called a night shelter. It's about 5 minutes away from me. It's a Muslim organization, a Muslim building. And the people who send Muslim food there, like my wife does, she's a caterer, so she sends food there on a regular basis. Sometimes she'll just make a pot of food and then I'll take it away and drop it there. And the people living there are all colored people. But the problem is they can't drink there. And most of the street people are alcoholics. They turn to alcohol and they are addicted to alcohol. A lot of them live off just alcohol day in and day out. So it's extremely difficult to rehabilitate them. And another thing is they don't want to stay clean and they don't want to work. They have to work in these night shelters. I don't want to talk too much about that, but my point is that we as Muslims have learned, because of circumstances, we've learned to fend for ourselves. So today, where the government is not really helping anybody, we're not feeling it so badly. We are feeling it because job creation affects everybody. And so if your child finishes high school and doesn't make it into university or college, then obviously in the old days, they would go and look for a job and they would find work. But that's not happening today. And the Muslim industry is not big enough to employ everybody. So, what we as Muslims need to do is we need to redirect our efforts into employing our youth. I've heard things like people saying, there's no such thing as a Muslim job. And right enough, there isn't. I mean, why should there be? That concept doesn't make sense. That was a woman, by the way. But she was talking about the children. So, and her children are two very good Muslims, by the way. But she was thinking in terms of where are they going to work. But it's not a matter of working at a Muslim job. Where are they going to work? At the abattoir. There's no Muslim abattoir. The abattoir is a government organization. And we have a section there where we can do halal slaughtering. But as far as work is concerned, it's difficult. It's difficult for us as Muslims. But we should be doing that. Our leadership here, we have our own Muslim organization, we have our own Hajj council that deals with Hajj and Umrah. We have our own president, our Muslim president, that deals with all kinds of stuff. They do a lot of work and they do a lot of good work. But people are overly critical about them and expect them to be doing things which is way beyond their jurisdiction. I mean, you go to the masjid, but do you contribute to the masjid? You bury people in cemeteries, but you pay for the hole, but after that, do you assist with the cemetery, maintaining it, keeping it clean? What about the people that work there? You don't do anything, but people complain. People are quick to moan and complain, but they just make use of all these things. People walk in and out of Jummah on a Friday without a thought. They make wudu, they use so much water, they don't contribute. Who must pay for all those bills? The masjid committee. There's no one owns the masjid. The masjid is waqaf, it means it's owned by everybody. So if you own it, then help to contribute. Help to keep the masjid running. People are so consumed with their own finances and this getting rich and making a lot of money and living the American dream here in South Africa. It's stupid. But anyways, I'm getting irritated now, so I'm going to end this video. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.